that is the way to wake up in the morning. Good morning. It is Sunday. I got my Hobbit pipe going here. And it is not just any Sunday, but it is the Sunday before these fantastic special elections coming up this next week and the Sunday before April Fool's Day. But we're no fools. We got some really important things to talk about. Stay tuned. Take notes. It's time to get into the rotation.
I'm loving the
Gandalf.
Gandalf.
Stays lit.
I love the Gandalf pipe, Gary. Very cool.
It's for the moon rock. It works well.
Good stuff.
This stuff never stays lit. Anyways, good morning. My name is Gary Stein. I am your political director here at Suncoast Normal and our Master of Public Health. And diagonally down to the left is our deputy director, our Master of Business Administration, and the proprietor of Chillum Mushroom and CBD Dispensary, Carlos Angel Armida. He luckily walked away from the Cuban sandwich fest where he was there trying to pull all the salami out of all the sandwiches. Just to make sure he got here on time. And just above us and to my left, we come from on top of DC in beautiful Anne Arundel County, where above the Beltway, he hits him below the Beltway. Christopher Cano.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Chris, I guess things are kind of crazy in DC right now.
Yeah, it's a shit show.
But you had a win recently in the Maryland Senate. I want to talk about that for just a second.
Oh, yeah. Well, most recently in the Maryland Senate, they passed a bill to allow firefighters to consume medical marijuana, not be precluded from a job. Essentially, much in the same way we have a employee protection bill going through the legislature in Florida now. They adopted that bill for firefighters, first responders, and such. And so emergency service personnel. I'm really excited to see where that goes. Hopefully it can get out of the House committee. In Maryland, there is a key committee called Economic Matters. And the chair of that committee, for being the alcoholic that he is anti-cannabis. And so that is unfortunate. But hopefully, he can see the error of his ways. I'm not optimistic because last year I testified alongside the firefighters on a similar bill that would apply to everyone in the state. They watered it down this year, just the first responders, and it doesn't seem like that bill may move. So what we've done is the same thing we did at Suncoast Normal in Florida, same way they're doing with National Normal and Maryland Normal, is going after local counties and municipalities in Howard County, in the city of Annapolis. They've adopted ordinances for public employees not to be pre-employment tested or tested for cannabis, especially in an adult use state like Maryland. Florida's not quite there. We're not an adult use state, but we have had medical going on the better part of a decade now. And it just doesn't make any sense that people who jump through all the hoops, follow all the laws, are still being fired from their jobs for using something that's legal according to the state of Florida.
Let me ask you a question. If you were a special employee of the national government and you worked in DC and you were using, let's say, unsupervised ketamine on a regular basis, could you be fired?
Well, you would actually have to be an actual employee. And as far as I can tell, the muskrat isn't actually on the payroll. He's just a consultant advisor. And he does horse tranquilizers recreationally. So what the fuck?
Well, I think we should hire him just so we could fire him then.
He wouldn't pass the security clearance, and he has like citizenship to multiple countries. So that's always a concern.
All right. Well, one thing that's holding up our bill, I'm put this at the front so we can talk about it later too, is that we're trying to get it into its first committee. And Linda Cheney, who is the chair of the first committee, is holding back the bill from being on that agenda because, among other things, she believes that cannabis is a hallucinogen and you'll get flashbacks during the week. So if you use cannabis on Sunday to make sure you don't have chronic pain throughout the week, you could be getting a flashbacks on Wednesday and suddenly think you're on Mars. Which I think happens to Musk a lot.
It'd be so much cheaper.
But so I'm asking you guys to contact Representative Linda Cheney in the state house and tell her that you want HB 83 agended and explain why it's so important that people don't get fired for using medicine that allows them to work normally. And that is so much important because I know damn well there's a lot of public employees who come to work on hydrocodone and God knows what else, and they're never tested. But
I
cannabis
mean,
seems to be a thing.
look at our United States Senator. I mean, Senator Rick Scott's got to be on something. Them eyes are too glassy and those pupils too dilated. So
Wait,
he's either one of those reptile people or he's high as shit on something.
Well, I'll go for the reptile thing
I'm sorry.
first.
Wait, hold on a second. I just started paying attention. I was doing back end stuff. Gary, you got ketamine?
No, I don't. I don't do that. But I understand that Musk does that on a regular basis, which is why he was wearing the dark glasses when he was using the chainsaw shit.
I don't know, Gary. I heard those Nixon tapes. He said the Jews are the plug. That's what Nixon said on them tapes.
I could be devil's advocate here. I agree with everything you guys are saying about Musk, but ketamine has shown to have some great therapeutic value.
Oh,
I
I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying that if you fall into a K-hole, maybe you shouldn't be responsible for government efficiency. That's all.
All right. Okay.
I mean, ketamine has shown definite efficiency, especially in regards to PTSD. But I believe it should be done on a supervised basis with a physician, because that way you know it's medicine being used in medicine. And we already are going to our own dispensaries here, where you ask them a medical question and you'll see deer in the headlights, and those guys behind the counter who will say, "I think it'll get you high," but they won't tell you what works for arthritis. They won't tell you what works for Tourette's. Doesn't make any difference.
Well, before we go off the rails, right?
We're already off the rails.
Yeah. Well, Gary, you mentioned about contacting your legislators, especially, Chair Cheney. Carlos, if you could just drop the action alert that we actually do have a national normal action alert for employee protection bill. So if you go ahead and y'all click that link, it will take you directly to National Normal's website, where it pre-generates an email to not just your state senator and your state rep, but also the Governor DeSantis, and make sure that you click that, fill that out, and let your legislators know that you want that bill to move forward, that you want it to get a hearing. The interesting thing and difference that for me working up here in the DC and Maryland area versus Florida is typically bills up here in Maryland only get one committee stop. In Florida, they can committee stop your bill to death. Some bills get 3, 4, even 6 committees when they don't want it to go anywhere. But the truth is, it only needs to make it through one committee, and leadership can then waive the rules and send it directly to the floor for a vote. So I think that's also important when you're lobbying here in Florida. Some of these bad bills, you can also have a false sense of hope in that they won't pass, and yet leadership can pretty much do what they want. And that actually happened this week with a very bad bill actually making it out of committee. And, we have some amazing business owners in the hemp sector here, both Carlos and our friends from Kushy Pies. And I just wanted to get y'all's 2 cents on what you think about what's going on in Florida right now with essentially these legislators like, Colleen Burton and such wanting to put y'all out of business. So
yeah, that was my segue.
Yeah.
Let's introduce who our guests are here first. These 2 folks make some of the finest edibles out there that you'll never guess where it's hidden. Let's put it that way. It's is it in the crumbs? Is it in the sauce? Is it in the whipped topping on top? I've never gotten it straight yet. They probably won't tell me anyway. The fact is, these are the guys from Kushy Pies. These are the ones you got to see whenever they're out there. I believe one of the finest products, but yet, as a small business person who are not millionaires, which is amazing here in the cannabis space, because they continue in the legislature to want to be only millionaires who are getting involved. That said, we have this bill that was filed that went through the Senate this last week. And let me get the right number here. Well, anyways, I think it's 486. It is a new hemp and hemp products bill.
438.
Pardon?
Senate Bill 438.
438. There you go. And it actually passed its second committee this week. Now, the House bill, which has 4 committees, has not yet been heard. But all of a sudden, after it passed the second Senate committee, now it's getting passed. That it's finally got on the agenda. So that is how things work in Tallahassee. That's how you got to watch things. If a bill, amongst all bills of a certain topic, goes in first, and you don't see any other bills being agended yet, that's because leadership has already decided they're going to make certain that it passes by any means necessary. Now, my concern about this bill, I'm happy with certain parts of it. Like they say that if you have a Delta 8, Delta 9 product that's processed for hemp, it has to have meet certain safety barriers to make certain that you're getting a good product. But there are so many people who follow all the rules, get good, safe product to put into their products, like these guys right here. Oh, these guys right here. And that's what we're concerned about. Vinny, tell us about what you've done in the past for the same damn bill. You and Hannah have worked very hard to keep this bill from going forward. What, 3 years now?
Yeah, yes, sir. 3 years. Carlos has been there with Hannah and I, and other, business owners, activists, stakeholders. Just to answer your question simply, what do we think about this newest bill by Burton? It's just bullies being bullies, man. Extortion, whatever you want to call it. They realized like last year they got a payday, and I think they realized that they're gonna squeeze this industry. They're gonna get told by the MMTCs, and now you've got alcohol companies, pharma. They've all switched their stance a little bit to say we're gonna now carry these drinks. We're gonna carry. Like they're opening their own hemp shops now. Cura Leaf now has a place called THC, the hemp centers, and they're in essence they're opening smoke shops and hemp stores. But again, they're not just opening to compete because we welcome competition. We look at it like that's great. That's healthier for the consumers. They're going to win.
Options.
Yeah, more choices, better quality, better prices. That's how a fair market works. The consumer ultimately wins from competition. But again, this is another example of them trying to just make it where there's no competition. We can't call it monopolistic because that means one, but we can definitely say there is a very unfair market advantage for a select few, a select handful of companies.
It's also it's a very clear example of government overreach.
Oh yeah, super.
They're wasting valuable time with of the resources that could be used on more pressing issues. So then they're undermining the principles of the free market. They're definitely taking away from the small businesses that are vital to our economy. So they're essentially this bill. As I feel like at the third time, all they're doing is adding to it to just basically take away and eliminating, and I'm hoping that we're exhausted and we're just going to give up and it's going to be third time's a charm. I think that's what I'm hoping for.
One thing I found about Tallahassee is it actually is a free market services industry. Basically, you get what you pay for. So these lobbyists all bring this money is given to them by their principals to go over there and kind of get the legislators to do what they ask them to do. And what happened last year was that a bunch of smoke shops, I don't know how many smoke shops were involved in the cabal, but they gave over $100,000 to DeSantis for his PAC. And all of a sudden, you got the veto that you asked for. Although the veto has had caveats saying, look, I'm going to veto it this year, but next year, this is what you got to do to make certain I don't veto it again.
But they already did that. FDAC sent out an email on the 15th of March stating that by June, we all have to have proper packaging. So if they're doing that and that's an official statement from FDAC, what is the point of this bill?
Well, it's a good question, Anna. And the point of the bill is in the actual changes from the previous years. And the key thing that stands out is that the bill makes a specific carve out for beverages with hemp extracts in them, and those beverages are being sold right now in essentially ABC Liquor and Total Wine and Spirits. And what I'm looking at is that Curaleaf has what's called select zero proof hemp seltzers now available in Total Wine and Spirit stores in Arizona, Florida, Indiana, North Carolina, South Carolina, Texas. So with the exception of Arizona, they're in prohibition states, and obviously Florida. But that's the key, is that they're literally trying to move hemp businesses out of the market with their products. And Boris Jordan, who's the CEO of Curaleaf, most folks don't realize this guy was once CEO of Gazprom Media. Gazprom being the Russian oil company that Dmitry Medvedev was the CEO of, who was former president and on the Putin payroll. So you literally have a Russian asset, a Vladimir Putin essential loyalist, as a major player in the cannabis industry. And that is alarming, number one. But number two, this billionaire Russian mob guy is making moves all across the country to put small American businesses out of business. And that's fucked up any way you slice it.
Maybe Arizona does or does not allow it.
No, Arizona is a legal state. But my point is that that's probably one of the few. What we do know the connection is, though, is that in Arizona, Trulieve and the other MSOs have essentially put this same boilerplate hemp bill to put y'all out of business in those other states. And we know this because we've gotten the leaks on the internet with the bill as just the same exact bill on their template, on their letterhead, and they just change it for whatever state they're currently operating in. So I would say this, Trulieve's government relations department, I know who you are, and you're not slick, you're not solid, and you suck.
Now, does the bill allow for hemp-based drinks with THC to be sold in smoke shops, or is it going to restrict it?
No, you gotta have a liquor license. So if Carlos and even Kushy Pies wanted to sell these hemp-based drinks, they're gonna have to get liquor licenses to do it. And it's like, wow. So now getting a liquor license is not easy.
Let's go ahead and talk about a company called Urban Flow. Urban Flow used to have a sister company that was called FB Distribution, Functional Beverage Distribution. I bought both my fridges from that company, and I used to stock all my beverages from that company, right? They're no longer wholesaling because they got hit by the hurricane. They're experiencing small business Florida woes already, right? They're just doing Urban Flow. Let's talk about the people that started Urban Flow. Mike, who is a covered alcoholic, who specifically wanted to open up a company that promoted beverages that would take people away from alcohol. That's the point here, right? We're here trying to put, like, I'm in Ybor City right now. I'm surrounded by people that are just churning out alcohol, right? The point of putting this here is to have an oasis in the middle of all that people can come to and realize that they don't need to do that alcoholic shit. Yeah. All right.
If you want to, you don't have to. There's something alternative.
Let me ask you, what is the point of making a recovered alcoholic who wants to provide drinks to people to get off of alcohol to get a liquor license? What is the point of making a hemp store get a liquor license? I don't care if you want all these companies around me to carry hemp beverages. I don't care. That's fine.
Because the cost, let's talk about the cost. A hemp license is $620, $640 a year versus $3,000, maybe even $5,000 for a liquor license, and all of what is required to get a liquor license versus a hemp certificate or hemp permit through the state of Florida. So, of course, it's all about, it boils down to what are they getting in their pocket for the state of Florida. Oh, if we get all 10,000 hemp permit holders now are required to have a liquor license, what's 5 times 10?
There is a specific reason why I'm like refusing to go up to Tallahassee this year. My blood pressure is through the fucking roof right now. Right? Like I cannot.
I know lowers blood pressure.
All right. There's just no way that I'd be able to do it this year.
Well, look at the last vote, Carlos. Every time we've gone up there, we've gone and poured our hearts out to these senators and House reps, and we have gone and explained what our business is and that we're law-abiding businesses. We're following every single guideline. We were just
every year. It's like they spit out this nonsense at us. That tries to get us to just like they try to reason it, but it doesn't. So let's focus on this hemp beverage stuff, right? Let's focus about this hemp beverage stuff. One thing last year that Vinny was saying that really made a high impact is that our hemp stuff may have a cartoon on it, but you're selling hard Mountain Dew and you're selling hard
Sunny D.
Sunny D, right? Like, why aren't you messing with these people?
What about the tea?
And then the idea here for taking hemp beverages out of hemp stores and putting them into liquor stores is that they're regulated. They understand what it's like to be regulated.
So
we
under
don't
that,
understand what it's like to be regulated, right? That's why they are the experts in cannabinoids now. And we don't know what the fuck we're doing, and we're irresponsible bringing this shit out.
I truly think that you guys though should be making cannabis push pops.
Sense. And Gary, I wish you had some ketamine because I would love to be in a K-hole right now because this makes that's the only way it'll make some fucking sense.
Maybe we'll have a reset on live TV.
The thing is, it's I think one of the real important things to look at what they're saying. It's not just like a liquor license, like it's a 4CP. That means not just beer and wine. It has to be liquor package, not like where a restaurant's not going to cut it. You got to have basically a packaged liquor store, like an ABC or a Publix.
We have a 3-tier system here in Florida in regards to alcohol licensing. You're familiar with all that,
right? But what they're asking for is the top. They're not asking for the other two.
That's what I'm trying to say.
There's a lot of stuff that goes into acquiring one of those licenses. They are not cheap.
I think the whole point is to get the money away from the hemp shops and to put it into beers, to bars and liquor stores and things of that sort. That's the people who were lobbying for it in the first place. They weren't lobbying for the hemp industry. They were lobbying for themselves. And that's what I mean about the free market thing that way Tallahassee basically is. It's all transactional. And to be honest with you, I got somebody here who says, thank God DeSantis is in office because he'll be more likely to veto the hemp bill. That depends on how much money he gets it if he needs it. If Casey DeSantis' campaign needs money and the hemp industry is willing to put up a couple $1 million, which they don't have, they'll probably veto it. Otherwise, if the MSOs give him more money, they win. That's what you call
let me ask you two this question. This question is going out to Gary and Kano, right? DeSantis last year specifically said that he vetoed the hemp industry. Granted, what his real intentions were, he specifically said that he vetoed this hemp bill because it would kill small business. And now it's more restricted. What is the chance that this motherfucker is going to give a shit that he's going to look like shit towards small business?
He doesn't. The only people supporting DeSantis are dick riding Republicans and MAGAs who think he was the next coming. And the truth is that DeSantis was in the United States Congress. He's just as slimy as any other politician. He's nobody's hero. He's nobody's savior. As a matter of fact, the Healthy Alternatives lobbying group that okey doke the hemp industry is essentially, buddies with him. The people running that are buddies with him, and they figured out it was another way to get more money for his campaign. Because you got to understand that in Tallahassee, there's essentially a divide in the Republican Party between the leaders in the legislature and the executive branch, as it should be. It shouldn't be the executive branch gets to dictate to the legislative branch, which is DeSantis has been able to do for so many years. But after his failed presidential campaign, he lost a lot of clout. And so he needs his slush funds to be full in order for him to influence elections, for him to maintain his clout. And extorting hemp businesses through their lobbying group is one way that he's been able to do it. And I cautioned that group last year, don't do it, because once you go down that route, you're going to get extorted every single year until the price gets too high. And the only people eventually who will be able to do it are these out-of-state hemp businesses that are backed by Cali weed money that are able to operate and donate $5 million a year to Ron DeSantis' slush funds. And again, like Gary pointed out, his wife is getting ready to run against Byron Donalds for governor. They're going to have a nasty Republican primary between Congressman Donalds and Casey DeSantis. And the truth is what is Casey DeSantis' qualifications other than being Ron DeSantis' wife? And there is a lot to be said there as to, I've never seen her hold office. It's not like they're a power couple, and I've seen her make her own name and her own splash in there and things. It's not like I've heard of some great foundation and great work that she's doing, other than sleeping with the governor of Florida. You know, it's
she
not like
does,
that
however,
power
recently.
couple like Kushy Pies.
Is he a lawyer?
You got the amazing chef there, and you got a great marketing person, and that's a power couple. That makes a solid business. But I don't see that in the current first family of Florida.
Well, what I do see in Casey DeSantis, though, is the same level of abilities that will get you a cabinet position in the United States government. Basically, if you're a celebrity, if you've been on TV, doesn't make any difference if you don't know the difference between signal and a secure line in the big situation room.
I thought the qualification, Gary, I thought you were going in a totally different direction with that. I could have swore you were going to say the qualifications to get a cabinet position is be willing to get on your knees for the executive branch. That's all. You know,
well, that is a possibility too. I saw a picture of Randy Fine hugging a cardboard cutout of Trump from behind, and he looked really, really happy.
Oh my goodness. So are you suggesting that the Hebrew Hammer has homoerotic fantasies about the president?
I don't know if there's so much fantasies fulfilled. It's hard to really say.
Oh my goodness!
Well, we'll have to cut that one out, otherwise we're all going to get deported. And I've been here in this country for 120 years.
This is a live show.
But we'll get into that thing. One of the reasons we have Vinny and Hannah here today is because they are sponsors for our new event coming up, and they are sponsoring the VIP experience. You guys want to explain that?
Well, let's start with the event, Gary. So the Best Blunt in the Bay Rolling Competition. This is our 4th annual. It is the most successful fundraiser that we have every year. It's the largest fundraiser that we host, and all the proceeds go to criminal justice reform, to ending cannabis arrests, especially in the state of Florida. Essentially, all proceeds go to legalize it. And every year we've made it better and better. And this year, again, our VIP tickets, our VIP lounge, the VIP experience is sponsored by Kushy Pies. So Hannah, you know, when someone gets a VIP ticket, whether they're a judge or a contestant, or they just want to skip the line and get that amazing VIP bag sponsored by Kushy Pies, tell them a little bit about what you got planned, and you know, tell them a little bit about Kushy Pies. Maybe they're not familiar with it. I know I am. Carlos is. Gary is. You can get Kushy Pie products in the Chillum dispensary. So we're excited that y'all are come on board.
I like the pistachio.
Thank you. We're very excited to be a part of this. So the VIP experience, everyone will get a Kushy Pie gift bag. It's going to be a cooler bag that is participating. The winner will also win a gift certificate for $50 at our booth. So whoever wins the Best Blunt in the Bay will get a gift certificate for purchasing basically $50 worth of goodies on top of what they already got in their gift bag. So you're going to get a nice edible, some stickers, and some other surprises in your gift bag.
That's awesome. You know, I'm really excited. You know, I personally am not a great roller, but I do think that the champ is going to really enjoy it. You know, one of the things about the Best Blunt in the Bay rolling competition is every year the belt has changed hands, and so this year, you know, the stakes and the prizes are getting better and better. And a $50 gift certificate to Kushy Pies, on top of going home with the belt, on top of the primo gift that Chillum usually puts up as a sponsorship. I think folks are going to walk away very happy as champs this year. And you know, this year we have team competitions as well. So if folks want to enroll a team of 4, they also get enrolled into the individual competition. So I'm excited to see who can take home these team event competitions.
I'm actually wondering, like, what other than the bags, what other capacities Kushy Pie is going to play in the event? I happen to know Vinny is a great blunt roller. Don't mean to put you out there like that. I don't know if like a team Kushy Pies is in the works, or maybe
Show us that stogie you got in your hand right there, Vin.
Oh no, this is just a little bit. This is a little toothpick, Gary. This ain't, it's just
you know what though, Carlos. If Vinny enters in the competition, it would be a wrap. I know for a fact. So folks should feel lucky that he's a sponsor and not an actual contestant. Otherwise, it would already be over and done with.
So what about maybe Vinny could be a judge? I don't know.
So Sun Coast, he's got the Sun Coast normal rolling tray there. In past years, we've seen some solid rollers. But the truth is, I firmly believe some of the best ones in the Bay either are sponsors, hosts, or judges this year. So if that's the cool part about it, right? Like if you think if you're an amateur roller, if you've been rolling for years, you don't really have to deal with the heat. You can really bring it this year and unseat the winner. Funny thing though, every single year our champ has gone home has been a woman. So the ladies are crushing it. I want to see someone with some balls who thinks they can go head to head with the ladies, because the ladies have crushed it every year and gone home with the belt.
In one guy, you're right. There has not been one guy that has won.
Never has the male won it. Yeah, that's pretty.
Best stay away. Here at Kushy Pies, it's all about the ladies, man. So
I don't think that balls have anything to do with how to roll a good joint. I don't think you actually roll them with your balls.
This guy.
Maybe I'm doing it wrong.
I would like to say we are proud to sponsor the best blunt in the Bay VIP area at the Dignitary Cafe here in beautiful Tampa off of West Shore and Gandy. I think it's going to be an amazing experience.
Yeah, shout out to Ian Beckles for hosting it in the location. In the past 3 years, we've done it in the backyard at Chillum and Ybor. It's been a lot of fun. It's been real intimate, but this year we're going bigger with a bigger venue. We got a big VIP section that Kushy Pies is sponsoring. They're going to have their booth out there as well. So I'm pretty excited for the event. The tickets are available right now. Judges passes have been selling this week. There is a very limited amount of judge passes left. So if you want to be the judge who smokes the entries, who gets to be a part of this competition, be a part of history, get your judge passes now before they sell out. And again, as an entrant, you want to sign up and get three friends together, put in a team of 4, because the team entry is actually cheaper than paying an individual entry for 4 people. So you actually get a discount on that rather than paying full price for an individual entry. Get 3 friends together, put a team in. Y'all will both be in the team events, and everybody will be entered into the individual events. Carlos, we got an event guide if you want to flash that on the screen real quick for folks, and we can talk a little bit about the competition and how it's going to look. So in the individual competition events, the first round is going to be the endurance round, which is essentially you got to roll a blunt or joint, depending on what papers that we're going to have for that event, for each judge. So each judge is going to get one. So we're going to see how well you can do it. And then in the second individual competition, you're going to be graded on how fast you can roll it. But then the judges are going to deduct points on essentially style and how it smokes. So that's round 2. And then the third event is going to be the freestyle event. How creative can you be? How good it's going to be? And then does it smoke? Does it look pretty? And so after those 3 events, the top 2 composite score holders will move on to the championship. And then we're going and looking at our team competitions, because we want to give individuals time to rest. So between the individual competitions, we're also going to have the team ones. And the relay roll is the first round of the team competitions, where essentially it's similar to the endurance round for the individuals, in that each judge is going to get a blunt, but each member of your team has to roll one, and then the next team member rolls one until all the judges have their blunt ready to go. And so I'm pretty excited for the relay roll. And then there's going to be the long burn, right? And so essentially what's going to happen is each member of the team is going to roll their own blunt, and the team gets to choose which one to submit. And that entry for that team, this is like those group projects in high school, folks. Remember, you want to make sure everybody's bringing it, holding their weight. But whichever team's blunt burns the longest will be the one that actually will win that round and get the points. And you'll be graded on that. And then the last round is the hitch up, where each member of the team actually has to touch it some way, some form, whether it's you're the one who puts it in there, you're the one who licks it, you're the one who rolls it, but it's a team effort. Everybody has to put their hands on the blunt in the hitch up round, and then that will be submitted to the judges for scoring. Again, the 2 teams with the highest composite scores will move on to the championship round, and we'll see in the grand scheme of things which team will take home the team belts and which individual competitor will take home the individual belts. If there is a tie, even in the championship round, we will go to sudden death, which we've actually had sudden death 2 years in a row. So I'm pretty excited to see whether or not, the champions and the folks who get crowned the best in the Bay go home this year with the belts.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun, and I'm the MC. So usually by the end of the night, my voice is gone. Carlos is the official referee, so he makes sure everybody follows the rules. There's no cheating. All the rules of the competition are held up, and of course, Gary, I know it's Passover, so you'll probably be with family. But if you get a chance to sneak away later that night, it does go. The doors open essentially at 7 o'clock. The competition doesn't start till 8, so folks have time to get there. I would encourage you to not wait to the last minute and try to enter in on site, because if it's filled up to capacity, we're only available as many folks as we can fit in the venue. So again, get your tickets now. Sign up, get your entries in, get your team ready, get your team name together. There's the defending champ Landra. So and that's the blunt that she rolled. If you think you roll better than that, then you have a shot at becoming the champ this year. So bring your ass.
Yeah, just so you know, if you've ever been to a Seder, this is a dinner that starts at 5 o'clock and ends at 8. You don't start eating until 7:45. So it's gonna be tough, but I'll be there in spirit at least. I will smoke a blunt in your honor in the middle of dinner.
Appreciate that. You got some kosher kush? I know that's a special strain you can smoke on Passover, right?
I will have the rabbi bless it before dinner, just to be on the safe side.
But Gary, is it a blunt you will be rolling?
Why do you think I use a pipe? I mean, seriously. That's not a can't roll a joint. Is that oftentimes they look like Brock's candies. I do pack a mean pre-roll, but I don't roll a good joint. So I'll defer to the champions on that one, and I'll stick with my Hobbit pipe.
There you go.
I like the pipe. That Hobbit pipe looks cool, man. Very professional.
There's one point I wanted to bring back up a few moments ago, and that is that if ever you want to imagine how DeSantis does his policy, note that right after he got into office, he had a press conference that he was going to allow whole flower in cannabis, something we've been pushing for years. And it just so happens that one of his biggest donors was standing right next to him, as in John Morgan. Now, why would John Morgan be at a press conference? That's as stupid as having Musk at a press conference with Trump. It doesn't make any sense. Why would your biggest donor be there at your side unless he's actually in charge of the whole thing? So,
or if DeSantis, him and Matt Gaetz were going to hotbox it afterwards because he just made it legal,
Yeah, I don't see why not. Because I think they did film that like 2 blocks from a middle school. So I'm certain that Matt was probably well aware of who was around that area.
Look, here's the interesting thing, right? Is that these politicians pontificate, they get on their soapbox, but the truth is that they're regular people just like us. Hannah, Vin, Carlos, you've been to Tallahassee numerous times. You see it, right? You see that they don't know necessarily what exactly they're talking about. They're not experts on every single subject. Hell, I've seen sponsors of bills not even know the language of the damn bill, and then they start stuttering when they get asked questions, So these folks are not the best and brightest getting elected. We do not have a meritocracy when it comes to our legislative branch, when it comes to our executive branch. We have people who basically have, like Gary said, the best campaign donors getting elected. And essentially they do what their campaign donors want. And there are significant campaign donors in the private prison industry, in the alcohol industry, and among the multi-state big cannabis operators that do not want to see small businesses like Chillum, like Kushy Pies, take away from their bottom line, because these big cannabis businesses only make money in the margins. They, in a lot of ways, have okey-doke their investors. They make investors sign NDAs to not talk about how they got screwed over, how their investments are only worth pennies on the dollars that they put in. I mean, I know every single national normal meeting, we're required as board members to disclose any investments or conflicts of interest that we have. And I laugh every time I hear the other board members on the national board say, "Oh, I got so many shares of this MSO stock, and I just have to sit on it because it ain't worth shit, and I'm not getting my money back anytime soon." And that's sad. But that is the blaring truth of why we see this type of legislation. And they validate it by saying, what about the kids? Because 1 or 2 head shops, 1 or 2 gas stations in this state, for some reason, either suck at actually putting out, safe tested products, or they just don't give a shit and they'll just sell to anybody who's willing to give them money. It's not like Chillum where they're IDing folks where they're like, hey, get the hell out of here, you kids, right? It's not like Kushy Pies where they're following all the regulations. They got their permits. They got their paperwork on site when they're at the events. They're at events that are for adults only. And that's the main issue that we have here in Florida, is that when small businesses do the right thing, they're still screwed over because of money and politics. And most of the things that we bitch about is not because we're partisan hacks in any way, shape, or form. It's money and politics that make for bad policy, whether it's Democrats in Maryland and California and New Jersey wanting to jack up weed taxes, or it's Republicans in Florida or other states wanting to limit direct democracy and put out small hemp business owners out of business.
So here's the question. What do we do in regards to the bills that are going on in Tallahassee? I want you guys to have the right amount of advocacy here, because I think your message is so important. I mean, it's gotten this far because they have had little conferences and things of that sort where they're constantly pushing safety, safety, safety. And of course, the alcohol industry feels that bars and liquor stores can do a far better job of making certain you sell it to the right people and not the kids, because no one ever gives a kid, no kid ever gives anybody a $20 bill to run in and grab anything from a liquor store and come out again. Do they ever? No, it doesn't happen. So that line is just bullshit.
Not a problem in America, right?
And for those guys who want to come over there and testify in Tallahassee with the committees, they're going to come up on the House committees and say, well, we got to have it for our health reasons. I need cannabis for this health reason. I need that cannabis reason. You've got to stop that, because we're talking about products that are oftentimes used just as much recreationally as they are medicinally. And so therefore, if you just push that, they can't get medicine if you take away the hemp products.
But in the bill, they say that this is non-intoxicating, right? But then alcohol is the intoxicating product. So what are you doing here? You're completely contradicting yourself when it comes to what you're stating in the bill. The bill, there's also another part of this bill that no one has spoken about, which is the freedom of advertisement for businesses.
Yeah, you can't see it from the sidewalk.
You can't advertise your business on the sidewalk. You can't have a sign. You can't have a logo. You can't have any colors. Then what can you do?
Yeah,
how do you let people know? You can't even use the words THC. So what do you use? The Delta sign?
Maybe you can put it on one of those giant liquor billboards they always show you around every holiday.
You know, and they push the whole non-attractive to children thing so far. They really pushed it so far, right? At one point, they were trying to ban putting turmeric in hemp and carrot juice in hemp. You know, they really seriously, like me and Vinny went up to Tallahassee at one point to try to stop them from doing that.
You can't use the logo, so the leaf doesn't work.
So what the fuck? These windows that I have here in front of my store, I could see them taking that as far as you're gonna have to block out these windows. They can see
it says no colors, it says no colors, no pictures, no logos, nothing. So a leaf isn't gonna work. What do we use? Like
no logos. Like what the fuck?
A QR code? Who's going to use a QR code, a child or an adult?
Right, exactly. That's the whole next thing. Like if you put a QR code, so this way you're not, it's not going to be recognizable by the general public. Who do you think's going to look that up quicker? Someone who's 51 or someone who's 15 with a camera? As the younger generations are quicker to look at that type of stuff.
My mom, who is 63 years old, she didn't even know what a QR code was until COVID, because she was forced to scan the menus. No, I'm just pointing out the obvious here.
Well, it goes back to a much deeper, long game that the MSOs are willing to play, because, as I said before, they have these investors who have poured in tons of money hoping to get rich in the okie doke, and they can essentially litigate y'all out of business. They can donate politically out of business. And the reason is very clear. All right. And I'm going to read 2 studies, and these studies will give you a clear, and then I'll make the connection and give you the clear indication. This first study comes out of the American Journal of Preventative Medicine, done by researchers at both the University of Southern California and the University of Michigan. And it's around the use of hemp-derived Delta-8 THC products. They examined folks between the ages of 19 and 30. And consistent with prior studies, they reported that Delta-8 THC consumption is far more popular in jurisdictions without regulated adult use cannabis markets. The prevalence of Delta-8 THC is significantly lower out west than in the South or the Midwest, and lower in states with versus without Delta-8 THC regulations, and in states with versus without legal recreational cannabis use. Now, this is also going along with separate data published last year in the Journal of Mexico Toxicology that reported far higher rates of incidences involving the use of Delta-8 products in states where licensed marijuana sales are prohibited. People who live in states where cannabis is illegal are nearly twice as likely to perform online searches for Delta-8 THC products. So the other consideration, and this happened in Maryland, is that they were doing the same exact type of bill, cracking down even harder on the hemp industry. And then someone brought up, hey, even if you crack down on the local businesses in the state and the folks who are licensed in your state, you can still buy Snoop Dogg and Cheech and Chong brand hemp-derived products and edibles on the internet. Then your bill doesn't cover that. So you're literally siding with hurting local small businesses in favor of big businesses from out of state. Now, I bring up that study to talk about this one that's connected. And this is a federally funded survey coming from the University of Michigan that the Center for Disease Control and the National Survey on Drug Use and Health put out. And this is saying that cannabis use by young people is at a 30-year low. And that in the past decade alone, of which 24 states have legalized adult use, the percentage of young people has dropped significantly in those various legal states, meaning that in states where it's legal and it's regulated, young people don't necessarily get access to it. The folks in the legacy markets tend to transition in the legal markets that they want. And even in states where it's readily available, young people aren't smoking it. But in states where it's prohibited, people are looking for Delta-8 and hemp-derived products. What does that mean? Clearly, it means that the MSOs are also paying attention to these things and that they're realizing that, oh, well, in a state like Florida where the adult use amendment has failed, then they need to transition and pivot their business model into places where they can make money. And that is clearly in the hemp sector. And you all are fucking with their bottom line, because I would much rather shop and get Kushy pies at Chillum. I would much rather come to y'all and place a special order. I would much rather walk into Carlos's place and get me a pre-roll than have to jump through the hoops of showing my medical card and going to get a medical card, spend hundreds of dollars to a doctor, and then having to walk in and pay an overpriced hemp joint from True Booth. And that's just the truth of it. And they realize that that's a threat to their bottom line. And that's why this is all happening. Because again, you all put out great products. You're great small business owners. You follow the law, and you're fucking with their money in the grand scheme of things. And bigger companies have done this since the beginning of time in America. And for some reason, the free state of Florida and the free market party in this state, for some reason, does not give a shit about their principles when it comes to the campaign checks that they receive.
It actually kind of scares me for my business. There's a lot of things that I don't do as a smoke shop owner, I guess you would say. I
wouldn't say it now.
Well,
Salary, sir.
there's I lost my train of thought. All right. So there's a lot of things that I don't do. I don't sell kratom. I don't sell kava. I don't sell crack pipes. I don't sell what do you call it? Whippets. Fucking what? I don't sell papas. There's a lot of things that I don't do because I have hemp. I'm really good at hemp. I have hemp and mushrooms. And you take that away, what has my business got? You know what I mean? So am I gonna go? I'm gonna get in trouble with a lot of the natural people out there, the new age people, about kind of bad mouthing kratom right now. But kratom is very addicting. Not to mention all the issues that I've had in the past with friends and family addicted to opiates. I really don't want to. I know the idea is kratom can help you get off of opiates, but I don't want to sell it something that works off of opioid receptors that could make you addicted. I could possibly be a lot richer right now if I did. But I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I want to stick with something safe. I want to stick with something that the community enjoys, that won't hurt anybody, that won't get you addicted. What else do I got? Like, in a way, the legislators kind of fucking with us in such a way where we're going to start carrying more dangerous products just because we want our businesses to survive.
And they want you to stop carrying mushroom products. They're trying to make that illegal. They want to literally cut your business in half, right? Yeah. And that's crazy. And then kratom, a few years ago, they tried to go after it, and then it just nothing happened, right? Yeah. I don't know which legislator smokes kratom or whatever they do with it. I'm not sure. Drink it, yeah, turn it into a tea. But it's just shocking to see how certain issues like kratom, as you said, were a major issue a few years back, and then it just disappeared. No one ever talked about it again.
Well, then we Tallahassee have to have a house leadership that wants your bill to go through in the House.
We can debate back and forth the safety of kratom, whether it's addictive or not. But the fact is, I've read stories about it. It's 13 times more addictive than morphine. The fact that they're willing to not look at that and look at hemp shows that they're financially driven. It's proof. That's proof right there.
I don't use kratom for the same reason I don't drink Campari. I hate the taste. I mean, for a while, Campari was this big thing. Everybody had to drink Campari. It tastes like Angostura bitters. I don't see how anybody would want to just knock all that down.
I'm gonna get off.
Drink a Bud Light.
I'm gonna get off my soapbox in a minute, but a lot of these kratom bars are 24 hours. And you pass by these kratom bars at 6 a.m. and there's people walking out with like 4 beverage things of kratom, all happy. Finally got my fix for the day.
Essentially, they're legal opium dens, basically.
All set.
It's safer than a lot of the bullshit that's out there. I'd rather somebody
safer than heroin
bar than inject heroin.
Right.
Inject or snort heroin. And the truth is that if you do those drugs, or if you're in extreme a lot of pain, kratom's probably a safer alternative than a lot of medical doctors are going to give you. But I don't want to do that shit. I like my safety here. I like helping people with what I do.
Well, safety is what the whole bill that Burton put out and Trablusi did the House version on. It's all about, is this safe? Is this safe? So all you have to do is go there and explain to them, yes, it is safe. There's no reason to regulate something that is safe. That's the bottom line. But here's the deal. The House bill right now, which is similar to it, which is most likely the one going forward, has 4 committees, which is tough once you're already at the halfway point in session to get all those 4 committees in. However, that is not the end all, because Chris, you have even told me several times, they can waive the rules and drop those last couple committees.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you talk about Trablusi. I found interesting. I've never seen a legislator on the website of the Florida House basically try to explain themselves as to why they file a bill. And if you go to House Bill 1597, there is a bold print section that says why I filed the bill by Representative Trablusi. And I'm going to read his own actual reasoning. He says, quote, Florida lacks a strong hemp industry regulation, is a ticking time bomb. I call bullshit on that. Without proper oversight, untested and potentially dangerous hemp-derived products, including Delta-8 and Delta-10 THC, are flooding the market, putting public health and consumer safety at risk. Unlike the heavily regulated cannabis industry, the hemp sector operates in a gray area, allowing inconsistent quality, misleading labeling, and unchecked sales to minors. I'm going to pause there before I finish reading it. That is clearly a boilerplate quote out of a fucking True Booth legislative document. That is, I know exactly where that language came from, because there's no fucking way that guy knows any fucking thing about hemp and can put together that much of a coherent thought on this matter. Now, moving on. Piece of shit legislators they are.
Where is
this? Oh, if you go to the actual myfloridahouse.gov, you go to HB 1597, and then you scroll down right under the effective date. There's this long tirade, which he clearly copy and pasted from a True Boo fucking legislative brief and decided to put this on the website for some reason. I've never seen a bill have this in the 15 years that I've had experience in the Florida legislature. And then he says, quote, "This isn't just about business, it's about public safety. Without regulation, hemp-derived THC products can be easily accessed by children and teenagers, leading to unintended intoxication and hospitalization. Contaminants like heavy metals, pesticides, and residual solvents go undetected in unregulated products, posing serious health threats. Law enforcement, educators, and medical professionals are raising alarms, yet Florida has failed to put real safeguards in place," which is shocking because did they not adopt hemp bills in the past that crack down on your ability to package and market and make sure that the kids are safe, right?
You know,
that's go ahead, Vinny.
I was saying, like, we worked with them to pass legislation, laws that got, signed into actual law. You have to be over 21 to sell or purchase hemp-based products in the state of Florida. Labeling says, the requirements that you can't have any colors, you can't have characters like my beautiful logo behind me, right? Slothy, you can't have that on the actual package. You can put it on your signage, right? You can have a big flag up in the air with your logo on it. But this new bill would say, no, you can't do that. You can't have a sign that somebody from the street or the sidewalk could actually view. What are you doing? No, you can't do that. So I just
they want us to be okay. So let's put it like this: they want the legacy markets to just come back. That's exactly what they're wanting to happen at this point. Is they're wanting what the legacy in the black market has been doing to become successful. That's exactly what this bill will do, and it's going to enhance that. And more people, instead of actually having good products and being legal, is now you're going to go to the black market. So what are you doing?
They can crack down now. Now they have an excuse to go back to funneling more money into law enforcement budgets. Because that's the other thing that we don't talk about is that as shit becomes legal and law enforcement has less ability to arrest people, especially what we're seeing with people getting pulled over. Oh, you got a joint in your car. No, this is a hemp blunt that I bought, down the street. And so they want to recriminalize so they can go back to inflating police budgets, so they can go, those private prisons that Geo Group owns, that eventually, as immigration drops, right, they still got to fill those back up. Right now, they're filling them up with immigrants, but when the immigration drops to nil, they got to go back to putting potheads in those private prisons. And so this is a long-term game with so many other factors in play. It's not just about putting y'all out of business. It's also about recriminalizing people and putting more Americans back in jail. Now, I'm going to finish this last quote here, and this is interesting because it seems like he tried to editorialize, but he says, quote, "Without clear regulations, unethical companies are cutting corners, selling low-quality, untested, and sometimes illegal products, putting both consumers and the industry at risk. If Florida doesn't step up and enforce strict testing, labeling, and age restrictions, these dangers will only grow. Public safety must come first. Florida can't afford to wait, and we must regulate the hemp industry now." He should strike that last line, and that shit should be exactly what we're talking about with the existing Florida cannabis industry. Because Gary and I wrote a truth in labeling bill based on a grassroots cry for the fact that they're putting all kinds of bullshit pesticides, that we're seeing mold and aphids in these products. We see the leaks all the time on social media of people who work in the grows showing how shitty of a product and how dangerous these products are, that they're selling to sick patients with cancer, dementia, and other issues. And the sad part is that it's True Booth, it's Cure Booth that is putting these things, and I call them Booth because that's what they are. Plus, I don't want to get sued, but it's their shitty products that are being put out there. Hell, they're even putting out THCA flower and saying it has 30% THC in it, but then you read the fine print and it's 0.3% THC, and the rest of it 29.7% THCA. So they're literally selling hemp and they're charging you medical marijuana prices. This is the bullshit that we're seeing out of True Booth and Cure Booth and all these other MSOs operating in Florida. Because I guarantee you, if you smoke Khalifa Kush in California and you smoke Khalifa Kush in Florida, it ain't the same fucking Khalifa Kush.
Two different things completely.
But also, let me just add in this: where is the parent accountability at? If you're all about the kids, where is the parent accountability? Because I guarantee you that if a child were to drink alcohol at someone's house, because if I recall, the Florida is like a no, like that's it. And if the parents are held accountable, so why is it that parents are not held accountable if your child ingests cannabis? And you take them to the hospital. Why are they not held accountable? Instead, they're holding small businesses accountable for something that you as a parent should have been protecting and taking care of inside of your home. If it is something that you feel that your child can ingest and become harm and go to the hospital for, then at that time, then you need to put your stuff away and protect it just like you would Oxycontin.
Or a firearm, right? You don't leave stuff where your child could access it. You know what I'm saying? Alcohol, it's exactly what it comes to. And it's just like, again, look at what this new bill, what we're here to talk about today, look what this will do. We'll make it only to where liquor store is going to have it, and it's going to be marketed just like how Arizona hard iced tea, hard Mountain Dew, hard Sunny D. It's going to be marketed right in there. And it's just like, how do we go from we have to protect the children and the youth by making it non-colorful, non-attractive, to giving it to the alcohol industry,
who is going to do the opposite.
That's already like it's not like we're not trying to scare nobody. This is something you could walk down the aisle of Publix and see right now. Hard Sunny D, hard Mountain Dew, hard Wild Cherry Pepsi. It's right there to where a kid could easily just grab it. But maybe they're saying, if it's in the liquor store, then that will make it safer. But like you say, the youths are still going to figure out a way to get somebody else to buy it for them or find some way to access it. And it's just, it's the wrong thing, bro. You give
on this point. I mean, my friend Ellen Snelling, who, by the way, is also a dietitian who owes me at least one appointment because she promised me a free one.
Big up, Ellen. Anyway,
has often said that she knew of somebody who went, I guess, over to Clearwater Beach, got one kid a smoothie in a shop, and the other kid said, "Can I have one of those cake pops?" And mom said, "Sure, go ahead." And said it was a THC cake pop. Well, excuse me.
Ooh.
My buddy who owns that shop in the crate, Higher Flower, he had all the big cookies up front. And the kid came in and say, "Mom, can I get a cookie?" And then she looked around and she said, "No, you can't. That's what THC cookies. You can't have one. I'll go out and get you one from the baker on the other side." Mm-hmm. That's what you do, Ellen.
Yeah. You educate your children of what it is. And that's why we use the THC symbol on all of our packaging so that kids recognize what that symbol is. It's part of education. It's part of what we do. And what our motto is that mommy should have a cookie should just be as acceptable as mommy needs a glass of wine.
Mommy deserves a cookie.
So at the end of the day, it does not matter how you ingest it or how you eat it or how you smoke it. That's your preference. But at the end of the day, it's all about the education. And that is what our country is at this point is not doing. We are not educating the youth of what the products are. And then by hiding it and making it, where it's not understandable for them, then that's why the problems are over ingesting.
Well, consumer education is something that this country has never invested in, right? Like Ralph Nader was one of the few people to advocate, early on in regards to consumer safety. And because of Keith Stropp actually working as a legal fellow and interning with Ralph Nader's organization, that's where he got the idea to create a marijuana consumer advocacy organization in Normal all the way back in the 60s and 70s. And so here we are today as a consumer advocacy organization, advocating for consumers to have safe and reliable access to these products. And then you get these studies that are coming out too that people take as government studies, but they don't realize that a lot of these studies have been influenced by the industry itself. And one of them that I know will probably get quoted because I'm reading it here. It just came out this weekend that Normal posted on the National Normal page is a analysis from the Oregon Liquor and Cannabis Commission and the Oregon Department of Agriculture that says commercially available hemp products often exceed legal THC limits and lack proper labeling. Now, one thing that you got to also consider is that on some of these commissions and boards now sit, because they're a stakeholder, representatives from Big Cannabis. And so that you have Big Cannabis on government boards now influencing government studies too. Now, according to this, they say state officials analyzed 101 flour and edible products marketed as hemp, and the products were purchased either in person or online from companies and operating in various states. Consistent with the results of numerous prior analysis, they say the commercially available hemp products and most products contain THC percentages exceeding legal limits and providing misleading labeling on their packaging. Few products provided verifiable certificates of analysis. Several products included chemically synthesized cannabinoids, and age verification was rarely required prior to the product sale. Researchers say the results indicate widespread noncompliance with state and federal laws. Now, you all are in compliance. Carlos does have verifiable certificates of analysis on his products, but there is one key thing that is not discussed in this, and me as a social scientist always irritates me, is that, and we've talked about it in the past, is that if someone from the Department of Ag chooses to seize something from a sample from y'all's business, and then they sit it in the trunk of the car, and in that heat, it decarboxylates, then what the levels of THC were in the store, which is air conditioned, versus sitting in the trunk of that car all day long while they drive around and collect shit, by the time it gets to the lab 1 and 2 days later, of course it's going to test hot. And I firmly believe that they're not doing it properly in the chain of custody. It's not like they're putting it in cooler bags like you have, Hannah, for your products, because also you make your products with dairy sometimes, right? You don't want milk to spoil. So that's why you put stuff in the cooler. And so in all of this, you even have the studies that are now corrupted because you have stakeholders in big cannabis sitting on these cannabis boards in the state. You have the state, they're encouraging the states to do these studies, trying to say that you guys are bad, that they're good, and they're the only ones who can be trusted. At the same time, they're putting out multi-million-dollar and billion-dollar deals with liquor distribution companies to sell their drinks in Total Wine and Spirits and ABC Liquor. And here we are, literally, like, small businesses saying in pleading, don't do this. This is bad for business. You're going to hurt us. And they're sitting there like, no, we need to save the kids. It's all bullshit. It's all a fugazi.
But that's what we're doing this year. Now that they've implemented, they're like for the packaging. So in all honesty, if it's really for the children, then there should also be parent accountability as well. I'm just putting that out there.
Got to be something.
Like, don't just sit here and say it's all about the kids, but there's no parent accountability, period.
Well, let's talk about the legislature, right? You know, and I'm kind of reading news back and forth, so the news segment will be a lot smaller this go around. But fewer than 1/3 of legal cannabis states have actually appropriated funding for marijuana research. And this is data published in the Journal of Cannabis Research. The team of investigators at the University of California reviewed state-level funding opportunities for cannabis research. They reported 17 states have adopted legislation providing funding mechanisms for research. However, to date, only 12 have actually allocated funding for marijuana-related research protocols. And then again, you got to look at who's doing the research, and are they doing research on things like child safety? Are they doing research on things like product safety and testing? And the fact is that I'm not exactly sure what the hell they're doing with research here in the place, Florida. I do know that Florida A&M University did get some money. There are some ladies who run that research program who run a podcast that tries to educate the public. But I'm like, shit, well, if that's the extent of the research and education, the state of Florida can send some money our way to Suncoast Normal, and I guarantee you we'll do a way better fucking job of educating and putting together a podcast like we have for the past decade. That's all. That's my 2 cents of it. It's just, it doesn't seem like it's being taken seriously in a lot of ways. And
why not ask the experts in this that's in the industry?
Yeah. Industry leaders, stakeholders.
Like, let's be honest, anybody that listens to this podcast, I could actually say might be an expert, because
I don't know, man. There's people that I look at the comments, not everybody. But I would want to say, Chris, if you look at the screen, just look at the display, bro. You already got FAMU colors going on. So
hey, there we go.
Tell them, you know.
No, and I appreciate it from Florida A&M University, but here's also the difference too. Is like the money that FAMU gets, they're putting in education, but if that money goes to UF is trying to tell you how bad weed is. I'm like, wait, you're supposed to use that money for research on helping people, not telling us that weed is bad. When the truth is that every time they do try to do a study to tell weed is bad, you get 5 other studies that show you the opposite. It's like, wow, this actually does help people. It helps with relief. It helps with anxiety. It helps with depression. You know, it helps with such a slew of health issues. And then you got businesses like yourself that people want to go to because they want, it's the same reason why I buy my meat from a small local farm. I don't trust the FDA regulated stamped products sold in the grocery store. I don't trust the meat at Publix, but I do trust what I get from the small business owner. I want to be able to talk to the person and maybe even have to cuss them out if I got a bad product. But who are you supposed to cuss out? Well, I'm supposed to call up Carol Barnett Jenkins and be like, yo, bitch, you sold me bad meat. No, right? But I could go to y'all and be like, yo, this product gave me a little tummy ache, or hey, this didn't do anything for me. Y'all will make it right. Oh man, my bad here. Maybe that's a bad batch. Here's 2 for $1. This type of stuff that America economic transactions have always been about is small businesses and small guys coming to the market and being able to work with them. And we live in a society now where everything is so corporate that it's cold, it's calculated, it doesn't feel good. And that's one of the reasons why I love vacationing in the Caribbean at times. You go to market there, talk to folks, get fresh products, fresh fruit, but that's not what you got here. Everything is cold, it's dead. And even if it does say it's stamped and regulated, hell, even sometimes you can buy organic, green-wise products and shit. And the organic, this word does not mean what you think it means,
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we're at. I rather trust the small businesses. And for some reason, the legislature doesn't trust y'all. And I know why. It's because you're not cutting them a check.
That, you're right about that. The thing is, if we knew exactly like who exactly to cut the check to or which group, because here go the thing, man, some of the organizations you mentioned earlier, I thought maybe that would be the one to give them the money to try to holler at them. But if you read the stuff they back in, the initiatives they back in, they're trying to get rid of flour. They're trying to get rid of all the rights that we already have under the federal farm bill. They're just trying to repeal them again here in Florida. It's like, why would I wait? Why would I actively give them money to shut my own business down? Like, it's crazy.
Hey, the one thing that hemp businesses, especially the ones that preach, well, THCA is already legal and weed is legal federally under the farm bill, don't necessarily realize is that it's the fact that Congress doesn't work properly, that the system is broken, is the only reason they're still around. Because if Congress could pass a clean farm bill, right, in the upcoming budget and actually pass an entire budget, then all this shit would change overnight. What happened was that in 2018 they did pass a clean farm bill. You did get illegal hemp products, and then ever since then they haven't been able to pass a clean budget in a new bill because Congress is always deadlocked. So they're just continuing resolution. And I know I'm getting into the political weeds here, but folks need to realize is that these MSOs are also spending money not at the state legislators, but they're spending money in Congress to make sure that they can regulate and put y'all out of business at the federal level and nip things in the bud. Because that's the one thing that even has this market alive right now, is that the federal government does allow for hemp to be classified an agricultural product and commodity and not a controlled substance. And they want it to be where only big cannabis gets to sell it. And they're lobbying in Congress, they're lobbying at the state level, they're running a multi-pronged approach to fucking with y'all and putting y'all out of business for the sake of their bottom line.
It's crazy. It's like it come back down to education, right? Like the whole half of what we do is educating the public or our consumers about hemp and cannabis-based products, right? Benefits, throwbacks, all of that. But what you look at right now, they have an actual new propaganda going on, a new Reefer Madness 2.0, where they're saying it's the DEA put this out. They want teenagers to post on social media
on
about
420
anti-420 day. That's what they calling it, at anti-420 day. And I was like, what kind of deranged?
What they should do is everybody that posted in there should make sure they're posting a picture with them smoking a blunt with anti-420. There you go.
That's what's going to end up happening. You're going to see people tell on themselves all the time.
No, it's a subliminal message. We're anti-420.
Yeah.
We are in a really dark time right now, and I don't know how. I've shared this with Kano. I'm not sure if Gary got a wind of this, but we had been doing sponsored content in a local liberal paper, and we thought that was safe because we were working with a liberal paper. It would be okay with that, for that to happen. And the idea behind doing sponsored content is we give them money and they put a story up and they leave the story up, right? That way people can always find it. It has the power of this site's SEO company. You know, they will be able to find us, right? And they took down our sponsored content.
Right. After years.
After years. So when this first happened, I reached out and I was like, hey, what's going on? The articles are down. Can you put them back up? And I got back answers like, oh, I don't know. My team says that they're still up. What's going on? What do you mean? And you know, like, it was like, I don't know what's going on. And I reached out recently and they said that Meta had actually reached out to them and told them that there was certain sponsored content that they would need to take down, or they would hurt their presence on their websites.
So Zuck is shadow banning essentially any sponsored cannabis content across the platforms.
And this also includes content that I put in not through Normal, but through other companies for psychedelics.
Yeah.
So we have to understand that right now, you know, you know, we've been on our soapbox for some time. You know, that's part of the reason why I've been really fucking depressed lately, is because it's happened. It fucking happened. The bullshit that we've been trying to fucking warn people about has fucking happened. All right. We told you guys, it's not about what you vote for, but also who you vote for. Right. You can think all day that you can vote, you know, with your opinions and whatnot, and not do any research and just, you know, hey, I trust these people. Let me, you know, these guys are red. They're going to be the right choice. But that's not true. I'm sorry. And we're seeing that in 2025 more than fucking ever. Empty promises, the accepting of campaign dollars to do shit against us, to pass bills against us, right? You know, and people have hated on us and told us that we're fucking liberal shitheads and we're just pushing our own fucking opinions on this podcast. And nah, it's fucking happening, man.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I'm fucking, you know, we've been on our soapbox for a while, and you know, it's happening because nobody fucking listened.
You know, Carlos, you bring up a good point in the sense that even in a state where you can get business done, right? They passed legal adult use through the Virginia legislature, and Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin vetoed that legislation that would have established regulations to oversee an adult use cannabis market in Virginia. He vetoed similar legislation last year. But understand that in 2021, they enacted legislation to legalize the use, possession, and cultivation of marijuana by adults, and that they're supposed to authorize the sale of cannabis no later than January 1st of 2024. But when Republicans flipped the House and the governorship in Virginia in 2022, they failed to advance that legislation to do so. When the Democrats took back control in 2023, they regained the House and maintained control of the Senate, and they moved the adult use sales bills 2 years in a row. And understand that 60% of Virginians want retail adult use market in Virginia, and it's just not happening because of these elections. And it doesn't work. It's just not working. Now, on the other side, because people want to always accuse us of being liberal hacks, California Normal is going to bat against the Newsom administration in Cali and storming the Capitol essentially with their members to oppose the marijuana tax hikes that they're looking at, because they want to increase the adult use excise tax from 15% to 19%. When in Maryland, they want to increase it from 9% to 15%. And we're seeing these hikes in taxes a lot of ways because at the federal level, you see a gutting of money that was going to the states by the Trump administration, by Muskrat and Doge. And so these states are now having to fill major multi-million-dollar holes in their budgets, and they're looking to do it on the back of cannabis consumers. And that's not cool either. So regardless, you got Democrats wanting to raise taxes on cannabis consumers. You got Republicans wanting to put them in jail. You got the GOP in Florida wanting to put y'all out of business. And somehow there's still people that's saying Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump are going to legalize weed and save America. And I'm just sitting here like, you're full of shit. Stop telling people that.
Now, it is a good news, though, however, that you can't put a tariff on cannabis.
Yeah. So
you also can't move it across state lines, let alone the border, right? But Gary, I'm glad you brought that up real quick. And Vinny, I'll go to you next. But the fact is that there has been a dramatic decline in federal arrest, and the number of federal offenders charged with marijuana trafficking has hit a record low. Federal law enforcement officials in 2024 charged fewer than 500 people with marijuana trafficking. That is a 93% decline since 2012. And then the decline in the federal arrests also mimic the decline in marijuana seizures at the southern border. In 2023, agents intercepted a record low of 61,000 pounds of marijuana at the border. That is a 98% decline in marijuana-related seizure activity since 2013. That is clearly a clear indication that state-regulated cannabis legal markets have supplanted the American demand for cannabis from the Mexican cartels, and it also has disrupted unregulated domestic markets here in America. And Congress has failed to even amend federal cannabis laws to explicitly recognize state legal cannabis markets. So all of this is happening while the states operate in a legal gray area in essentially, telling Congress and the federal government, fuck you Schedule 1 substances. This is something that we're doing that the people want, and it is working. It is working. So in the grand scheme of things, it just boggles my mind that we're not legalizing cannabis, that we're not taking it off the schedule, that they're still talking about rescheduling rather than descheduling, and that's just where we're at in this. Vinny, what are your thoughts after hearing that?
Man, from everything what you said, back to what Carlos was saying, people feel like their votes and stuff don't matter, your voice don't matter. Let's be real. This is a capitalist country. The number one thing what matter, and all these big conglomerates and all that, they could throw their money at the legislature. But when people speak with their dollars and choose where they will and where they won't go and shop, like I've seen actual calls for boycotts because some company came out and in favor of these bills. Some company called Shrimp Boat or some kind of thing like that. They used to be smugglers. This daddy was a smuggler, and then they came to this market, and now they're trying to close off what we have going on. And
why don't you want to
media
company?
So, some people on the social media, they said to boycott them. And you know what? That power of the people, when they started to not shop there, guess what? Their flagship in Key West closed down. I'm telling you, this happened within a week and a half, 2 weeks. I mean, clearly they was already having struggling issues if they couldn't really keep it floating. But what I'm trying to say is everything what y'all saying is correct, but we forgetting one thing. As activists, as an organization, Suncoast Normal, it's a grassroots thing. It's based on the people. The people still have the power. You just got to vote with your dollars. It ain't about where you going in the ballot box, because none of them ain't doing nothing for us.
That's
true. They go my people right there. They telling you what it is. You see what I'm saying? I kept thinking it was Shrimp Boat, but it's called something else. But it's like this. The man came out and said, he don't think that nobody else shouldn't be able to sell. And it's like, bro, you don't even sell what we sell, man. Like, why are you trying to take us away? And not just us. There's 10,000 other license holders, businesses that are companies in this industry that this their livelihood. And this man again trying to come out there and take it. So I just feel like within a very short amount of time, a boycott came through, and it had a lot of strong impact. And if the people continue to do things like that, you will see a change come, because they can't continue to keep up these campaigns where they're throwing so much money, because it's not just here in Florida. They're doing a huge one right now in Texas. Some of the same people sponsoring these bills, and they banking that they're going to be able to lock everything off, take away any semblance of a free market whatsoever, to make it to where it's just them, or just them in a very small select handful of corporations will be able to operate in that space. And that's just wrong, man. That's just un-American. It's uncapitalistic. And the people are the ones that's going to speak, man. That's why we still here. The people like what we doing. So
hopefully I didn't miss this part, because I was dropped out of the conversation probably by the thought police, who are constantly listening on to me. I can tell because of the buzzing in my ear. They're constantly talking to me. But anyways, tell us about your product, what kind of things you make, and why they are safe, because they are so worried about safety.
All right, wait. Before we go into why Kushy Pies is so awesome, the one thing I want to say is, how do you go from fucking dad was a smuggler to, the corporation is the one that you grew up wearing shoes that came from the legacy market. The shirt on your back coming up was because the laws were unjust.
And his daddy, he was doing this thing. Like, I mean, hey, man.
Now you're part of the problem. Now you're the bad guy.
He is. And the way how they come out and
we all grow up wanting to say fuck you to our daddies. But
are we talking Brady
that's
here?
The ultimate fucking fuck you. I'm sorry?
We're talking Brady here, right?
I don't know the man there. The guy from Shrimp Boat, man. Shrimp Boat Cannabis Dispensary down in
Shrimp Boat. That's it.
The overpriced new MedMed in Florida. Fucking cannabis bro fucker.
Yeah, we have, he and I have had our conversations.
It's just, man, that's what I'm saying. I guess that's what I'm coming back to. It is just, people ultimately, the market, the consumers should have the final say in this, not just the people in Tallahassee saying, well, I got paid this much, I got paid that much. Because let me speak on that real quick, bro. You see how they already passed it through the Senate, 2 committees before they letting it go to the first committee in the House? It's because it's a lot cheaper. There's only 40 people you got to buy in the Senate compared to 120 something in the House. So they figure let's use that as a soundboard. Let's slip it through a little bit to make sure and say, okay, now we're gonna start the sister bill or the companion bill on the other side. And it's just
they want to go back through the House, saying on the Senate side it was unanimous.
It passed unanimously. Because think about it, bro. The first committee it passed 6-0. The second committee 18-0. All the people, if you're listening, if you checking this out late, call the legislature, call your rep, call the governor's office. Let the governor know, because again, the governor was the only one that stepped in last time. They did the same thing last time. They ramrodded this bill through both sides of the House and of the Congress, and boom, it's only when DeSantis stepped in and vetoed it. I'm not saying DeSantis is a savior and no thing like that, but looking at it for what it is, if he didn't veto it last time, we probably wouldn't be in existence. We probably would have had to be shut down since October. So.
Okay. Well, just so you know, Vinny, this is the way things go in Tallahassee. I know you've actually tried to see it before, but let me give you a little bit of explanation. Generally, bills do not get voted down in committee. They're always saying, all right, you've made your case. Let's see what we can do moving forward to fix the bill or make it a better bill or whatever. So I'm not going to vote it down yet. So generally, you'll get a positive vote on the first, second, possibly even third committee, but it's got 4th committees. And then they might do more amendments as it moves on forward. That's all part of the show because they already know what the end game is. And so they're working towards that. So generally, you will see unanimous bills moving forward on the first or second committee. So don't take too much heed into that. It's all performative.
And another thing,
really is
a soft spot here. Rest in peace to Senator Thompson, who was
Geraldine, God bless,
the only senator
that voted against.
I would say was not a fucking dino, was not a Democrat in name only, and was willing to stand up for it. So that is a big problem when the only senator in Florida that was willing to stand up for us is now deceased.
Yeah, rest in peace, Senator Jerry. Thank you for all of your help and seeing us when we was there.
Yeah. God bless Senator Barnes and invite her into the kingdom. We appreciate her. I do want to say something on the note of Democratic senators. Understand that the ranking Democrats on both those committees that moved it through the Senate are former crackheads.
Oh, you mean Rusan must have been on one of the committees then, right?
Rusan was on the first committee and Osgood was on the second one.
Oh, Lord, 2 of them both self-proclaimed former crackheads,
Yeah. Anti-cannabis crackheads, and that is the shit that drives me nuts. That's why I won't support Gavin Newsom. I will refuse to support a politician who will demonize and overtax and overregulate cannabis when they used to do coke. They could go fuck themselves.
That lady on the stand in the Senate or whatever committee it was got up there and told the whole people that how she went from smoking marijuana to smoking crack and eating out of a dumpster because she was smoking crack rock. and she blamed it all on reefer. And I was like, because that was her word. She said, I used to be a professional reefer addict. And I was like, wait, what? What you was doing?
Professional, did they pay you to smoke it at NASA?
Yeah,
What the fuck you mean?
Oh, bro.
Oh, man.
She went, she went after Yomira.
She did, man. Yo, big up
She
Yogi.
did. Yomira did a great job
Of educating that lady.
Like,
and she made sure and stood her ground.
Especially because they put her right on the spot. I don't think I could have answered the questions as eloquently as she did. I'm gonna be honest with you. I would have froze right then and there. Like,
man. I was at the DNC back in August, and I saw Osgood at the table at breakfast for me, and maybe she's still on that stuff because it was way too early for her to be that wide-eyed and happy when it's 7 a.m. and everybody else like this and shit. You know, I don't know. I'm just saying, don't trust it. There's no such thing as a former crackhead. That's what I learned being forced to go to court order rehab for weed charges. There's no such thing as a former crackhead. Okay, they just haven't smoked in a while. That's part of the cult. That's what they say. I'm in recovery. I'm a crackhead in recovery. All right. You know,
just tell people I'm a recovering alcoholic, bro. 7 years going on. You know what I'm saying? But anytime it can happen. I believe if it was a crack addiction, you'll be more inclined. So
well, look, y'all, we don't really have much time to do a news segment, but I've read most of the news. Only other news thing I didn't read was from the Journal of Clinical Cosmetic and Investigational Dermatology. It says cannabis ointment relieves eczema symptoms. So, you know, if you got that eczema, if you got that psoriasis, I know Carlos has a bunch of tinctures and lotions he sells. And then if you're feeling depressed because you got shitty skin, I know Kushy Pies has amazing products to pick your attitude right back up. So again, take action to do your best there. Also, if you're a lawyer and you support Normal and what we're doing, you need continuing legal education credits. There's a Normal Key West legal seminar, which has been going on for the better part of almost 4 decades. And it's December 4th through the 6th. You can actually get legal education credits certified and of course, get your license renewed with those credits and have a great time with fellow normal lawyers from the Normal National Legal Committee and figure out how you can be doing better and more for cannabis consumers across the country in the legal sector. And then, of course, there's our Take Action Center. If you go to normal.org, National Normal has a Take Action Center that has all the bills in Florida currently moving. There are 9 separate bills, now up to 10 bills around cannabis. And you can click those separate bills and click the action alerts and send a message to your state senator, your state legislator, state rep, and then, of course, the governor of Florida, telling them to move that legislation forward. We have everything from a parental rights bill, which protects your parental rights as a patient, to patient protection bills, which help end medical discrimination, expand qualifying conditions. There are bills that will, regulate an adult use market and expand, allow for tourist reciprocity. You know, all the great bills that Gary has talked about over the past 3 years have one form or another have finally made it into some type of legislation this legislative session that's now on the legislature to actually move them. And instead of moving good bills on cannabis, is moving these shit bills in regards to wanting to put hemp businesses out. So you can do a lot by going on to normal.org, supporting what we're doing, and go to suncoastnormal.org and get your tickets for the best blunt in the Bay rolling competition. Understand that this is a major fundraiser that will help support these grassroots efforts, allow us to continue to bring you the best news and entertainment each and every week here on The Rotation by supporting our efforts. Of course, become a member to Suncoast Normal. Suncoast Normal members get in free general admission into the rolling competition. If you want to enter into the competition and actually compete for some amazing prizes, you should definitely do so and get your tickets now. Get together a team of 4 friends and enter into a team and join us on April 12th, Saturday evening at the Dignitary Cafe at 4817 West Shore Boulevard, and the VIP experience sponsored by Kushy Pies. Our friends Hannah and Vin there from Kushy Pies. Shout out to y'all and your amazing products. Excited for folks to come out and compete and to win. And so as we close out, Carlos, why don't you go ahead and make Kushy Pies real big? Hannah, Vin, tell them where they can find y'all, where they can get Kushy Pies. Carlos is eating a Kushy Pie right now. They do sell them at Chillum, but Kushy Pies also does take special orders. If you want to put together an amazing party, if you want your wedding reception to be off the hook, you definitely want to contact Kushy Pies and place that order. So Hannah, Vin, tell folks where they can get in touch with you and where they can also find you next, because I know you do tons of events around the Bay Area and throughout Central Florida.
Okay, well, you can definitely find us kushypies.com. You know, you can order direct from the web. You can get us at Chillum right there in Ybor. Both sides of Armenia Avenue from Ybor to Armenia. You got us at Battle Buds. We're at Bud Brothers in North Armenia. Chill Coffee out in Valrico and Riverview. And like I said, kushypies.com, and as well as at kushypies on the socials. Upcoming events, obviously, we got the Best Blunt in the Bay, number 4. We got the Florida Groves Festival in Orlando that same weekend. Coming up after that, what we got coming up after that?
The Matty Fest, the Chill Coffee.
Matty Fest, Chill Coffee, Bears Groves. Yo, in the
Market
golf,
Lane.
all my golfers coming out. Yo,
May 25th.
May 25th, get cherried. Get your golf teams together. Like, hey, yo, we got the blunt rolling teams that's gonna do it. Let's get some golfers out there. We're gonna be blowing, we're gonna burn, get some Kushy Pies on the greens. It's gonna be an amazing thing. So make sure to look out for that too. You know, and just thank you guys so much, bro. We love
you gotta love you guys' dynamics. Like it works so well. Like all you gotta do is just be like, and we're gonna be out there. And all you gotta be is and it just springs into. She's April 26th.
Yeah, and are you guys going to be over at the Market Lane this coming Friday, or the first Friday of the month? Over?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Gary. Thank you for bringing that up, man. First Friday, you can find us. Wesley Chapel, Created the Grove, Market Lane. Shout out to my boys down there at Higher Flower. They're there, you know, every day. You know, but on first Friday, you can come see us too.
I just want to say, though, when we do markets, you better be careful when picking up our products on the tables because they're most likely a display and not an actual product.
Yeah. Don't take the one on the table. You don't want to eat that.
Oh, that explains that.
You try to grab a Kushy Pie and you get electrocuted.
I'm just saying, it tastes great, but it doesn't do nothing.
Display. So,
well, no, I'm glad y'all said that because too many people try to smash and dash. You know, I know y'all have had people rob you at the table, smash and dash. Carlos got smash and dash this week at his St. Pete's store. So, you know, criminals were out there. They will try to steal products and try to screw over small business owners. Make sure you protect yourself. So I'm glad that you got those. You know, funny, it's hard to bite into a plastic Kushy Pie. So that's what they deserve.
I cut you guys off from earlier, but you know, and honestly, I think the perfect person to direct the question to is actually Hannah. Hannah, what makes a Kushy Pie so great?
Oh, because it's made with love. It's much creamier. It's definitely got that passion of tasting like an actual dessert, but while also having the effects of what cannabis can do for you. I don't make just edible desserts. I make regular desserts as well. I'll tell that to a lot of people. So we're going to start bringing in, we're getting more requests of people. These desserts that we do make for the family will be color coded, whereas with the edibles are just plain white and black packaging. So it is definitely you could tell the difference.
Yeah, between the infused and the non-infused.
So we're get the request. So a lot of times, hey, do you have anything that my child can eat? You know, so we're going to definitely bring in non-infused items to a lot more of our events.
Hannah, I did see one of the comments, and I'm just reading it. It's pretty wild, but do you make any edibles there that can be used during sexual activity? Because this guy, Carlos, I don't know if you want to flash that comment, but looks pretty wild there. And I was just wondering if Hannah makes anything.
Oh, shit.
To be honest, though, the strawberry might be something that you might be able to utilize for that.
Hey, man.
I got strawberry crunch cheesecake right here.
You see?
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Let them know. Let them know
you can eat that out of somebody's ass all day, bro.
Hey, I have been kicked out of some events for saying that I like cream pies.
You sell some pretty good cream pie. Get your Kushy Pies cream pie today.
I do like the coconut cream pie Kushy Pie. That's actually my favorite.
I'm making that for April.
That's the pie of the month for April.
Just for you, Kana. Just for you.
There you go. The whole month of April. You still got a couple days left in March. You get the last Milky Way pies for the month of March.
I can't wait to give my wife a coconut cream pie.
Woo!
From Kushy Pies.
We like cream pies. What can we say?
Hey, look, if the legislature's gonna fuck with your logo, then that should be your new logo. We love cream pies. If they don't want the sloth, Then let's see how family friendly they feel about that. Just we love cream pies, you know.
But right now it's tastes like vacay, but we love cream pies works. I feel like it's front and center.
I mean, maybe that might be the sway into the next.
Gary is right. We are definitely way off track right now.
Sorry, guys.
Like, we always have fun.
So we do love to have fun, and
you just outdistanced me there, dudes. I just couldn't handle that.
That's it, right? Like we've done the news, we've done everything.
Hell, I think this episode's gone almost as long as our Tommy Chong episode. That's how much we love Kushy Pies being a part of it. We can rap with y'all. Well, y'all are amazing folks.
That's the thing. A lot of people will credit, me, Keno, and Gary for being some OGs here, but like those guys too, man. Kushy Pies was here since the beginning. You guys were there, medical marijuana Tampa days. So love you guys.
Just remember, guys, don't stop fighting. Don't stop fighting because you're on the right side.
Ever since our first Suncoast Normal meeting, you can find the Kushy Pies founders in the background there holding up the signs. So y'all have been with us from the get-go. We appreciate y'all being amazing members as individuals and also with your business. And again, come out and support Kushy Pies and support criminal justice reform. Come to the Best Blunt Debate Rolling Competition. Support what we're doing at Suncoast Normal, and hit that like and subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube and other social media. And we will continue to bring you the best and baddest, in cannabis news and entertainment each and every week. And of course, become a member because we're only as strong as our membership.
All right.
Bye. Love you, guys.
Peace out, guys.